There is a principle older than money itself, older than banks, businesses, and even governments. It is a law that does not change with time, inflation, or economy, a law that works quietly, faithfully, and relentlessly for those who apply it. That law is this: when you give, you activate blessing. When you give away 10% of your income, something far deeper than a financial transaction takes place. You are stepping into a spiritual and universal law that has governed abundance since the beginning of time. This law does not respond to how hard you work, how intelligent you are, or how much you desire success. It responds to movement. Giving is movement, and abundance follows motion. Most people live in a constant state of financial tension. Even when money comes in, peace does not. There is always a silent fear in the background. What if this stops? What if this isn't enough? What if something goes wrong? This fear creates stagnation. Money that is held tightly carries anxiety, and anxiety blocks growth. When you give away a portion of what you earn, especially a meaningful portion like 10%, you disrupt this stagnation. You are no longer gripping money with desperation. You are releasing it with purpose. Giving immediately shifts your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to survive, and you begin to see yourself as someone who has something to offer. That shift alone changes how you think, speak, and act. Your mind opens up. Instead of asking, "How do I protect what little I have?" you begin asking, "How can I create more?" Abundance begins first in the mind, and generosity is one of the fastest ways to activate it. The universe, and more importantly, divine order, does not reward neediness. It responds to alignment. When you give 10%, you align yourself with the flow of provision. You declare, through action rather than words, that you trust life to replenish what you release. Trust is magnetic. It attracts ideas, people, and opportunities that fear never could. This is why two people can earn the same amount, yet one struggles endlessly while the other seems to move forward with ease. The difference is not income, it is alignment. Many people believe they must first become wealthy before they give. This belief keeps them stuck indefinitely. Abundance does not begin after generosity. It begins because of generosity. When you give from what you have now, you unlock access to what you do not yet see. This is not mystical thinking. It is practical spiritual law. Giving trains your subconscious to expect more. And the subconscious mind, once programmed for expectation, begins to notice possibilities that were previously invisible. Within days of consistent giving, something subtle changes. You may not see immediate money returns, but you will notice a shift in your inner state. Stress around finances softens. You become calmer when paying bills. You make better decisions. You stop reacting emotionally to money. This emotional regulation alone saves people enormous amounts of money over time because fear-driven decisions are often expensive. Generosity also cleanses money. Money carries energy from how it is earned, how it is held, and how it is used. When money flows through generosity, it becomes lighter. It no longer feels heavy or burdensome. The remaining 90% often stretches further, not because of magic, but because your relationship with it improves. You respect it, manage it wisely, and use it consciously. Respect invites increase. There is also a relational dimension to giving. People are drawn to those who give freely, not only financially but energetically. When you live generously, others want to support you, collaborate with you, and open doors for you. These human connections often become channels through which abundance arrives. Opportunities rarely come through isolation. They come through people. Over a 30-day period, many experience what can only be described as momentum. Small wins begin to stack. Unexpected refunds, new clients, helpful advice, or reduced expenses show up. These are not coincidences. They are responses to alignment. When you act in harmony with the law of abundance, life responds in kind. It is important to understand that giving is not a transaction. You are not bribing the universe. You are positioning yourself correctly within the flow. The moment you give expecting immediate return, the energy shifts back to control and fear. True abundance responds to surrender and trust. Give quietly. Give consistently. Give with gratitude, not pressure. Giving 10% also disciplines desire. It teaches you contentment without complacency. You learn to appreciate what you have while remaining open to growth. This balance is rare, and it is powerful. People who master it experience stability, even during uncertain times. As days pass, your confidence grows, not because your bank balance necessarily explodes, but because your inner certainty does. You no longer feel at the mercy of circumstances. You feel supported, and when a person feels supported, they take smarter risks, speak more boldly, and act with conviction. These behaviors are the real engines of long-term prosperity. By the end of 30 days, the greatest transformation may not be visible on paper, but it will be undeniable within you. You will realize that abundance is not something you chase. It is something you align with. Giving 10% is not about losing money. It is about breaking free from fear, stepping into trust, and activating a flow that was always available but waiting for movement. In conclusion, giving away 10% of your income activates the law of abundance because it shifts your mindset, your energy, and your alignment with provision. It replaces fear with trust, stagnation with flow, and survival thinking with creative confidence. When you give, you do not become smaller, you become open, and what is open can be filled, multiplied, and sustained. Fear is the silent force that controls most people's financial lives. It doesn't always announce itself loudly, but it shapes decisions, habits, and attitudes every single day. Fear whispers that there will not be enough, that one mistake will ruin everything, that money must be guarded at all costs. This fear keeps people stuck, working endlessly yet never feeling secure. Giving away 10% of your income directly confronts this fear and dismantles its power at the root. From the moment money enters your hands, fear usually takes control. You think about bills, emergencies, future uncertainty, and comparisons with others. Even when income increases, fear often grows with it. More money simply creates more things to lose. This is why many people with high incomes still live in anxiety. Their fear is not tied to the amount they earn. It is tied to their attachment to money. Giving breaks this attachment. When you give a consistent portion of your income, especially a significant portion like 10%, you make a bold internal statement. Money does not own me. I can release it without panic. That single action rewires your emotional response to finances. Instead of reacting from scarcity, you begin responding from trust. Trust is not blind optimism. It is a calm belief that provision continues even when you let go. Fear thrives on the illusion of control. People believe that holding tightly to money keeps them safe. In reality, this tight grip creates tension, stress, and poor judgment. Giving loosens that grip. It teaches your nervous system that letting go does not result in disaster. Over time, this repeated experience trains your mind to remain calm even when money flows out. Calm minds make better decisions, and better decisions create better financial outcomes. Within the first few weeks of intentional giving, many notice a surprising shift. The anxiety they used to feel when paying bills begins to fade. They stop checking their bank balance obsessively. They stop replaying worst-case scenarios in their mind. This is not because they suddenly have more money, but because fear has lost its authority. When fear leaves, mental space opens. In that space, clarity appears. Clarity changes everything. When fear dominates, people avoid opportunities, delay action, and settle for less than they are capable of. They stay in unfulfilling jobs, tolerate unfair situations, and silence their ideas because fear convinces them it is safer to stay still. Giving disrupts this paralysis. As fear weakens, courage strengthens. You begin to consider possibilities you once dismissed as unrealistic. Another powerful effect of giving is the restoration of self-trust. Fear erodes confidence. It makes you doubt your ability to recover, adapt, and create. By giving consistently, you prove to yourself that you can release resources and still remain stable. This builds inner resilience. You stop seeing yourself as fragile and start seeing yourself as capable. That shift in self-perception attracts growth. Fear also distorts generosity. Many people want to give but feel they cannot afford to. This belief reinforces the idea that they are always one step away from collapse. Giving 10% challenges this narrative. It shows you that you are not as limited as fear claims. Each time you give and nothing bad happens, fear loses credibility. Over time, it becomes a background noise rather than a guiding voice. As fear diminishes, your relationship with money becomes healthier. You stop making impulsive purchases driven by emotional scarcity. You stop overspending to soothe anxiety or underspending out of panic. Balance replaces extremes. This emotional stability often results in more savings, fewer financial mistakes, and increased discipline, all without forcing willpower. There is also a spiritual dimension to this transformation. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space fully. Giving is an act of faith in action, not theory. It is easy to say you trust life or God, but trust becomes real only when tested. Giving tests trust gently, but consistently. Each act of generosity strengthens faith, and each strengthening of faith weakens fear. In relationships, the effects become visible as well. Fearful people often bring financial stress into their interactions. They argue about money, avoid discussions, or carry resentment. As fear releases its hold, communication improves. You become less defensive, more open, and more generous in other areas of life too. Financial peace spills into emotional peace. After 30 days, the difference is undeniable. You may still face financial responsibilities, but they no longer feel overwhelming. You feel grounded. You feel supported. You feel capable of handling challenges rather than fearing them. This emotional freedom is priceless because it becomes the foundation for sustainable prosperity. In conclusion, giving away 10% of your income breaks the spirit of fear around money by loosening attachment, restoring trust, and retraining the mind to remain calm in the face of uncertainty. It replaces panic with clarity, control with confidence, and anxiety with peace. When fear no longer dictates your financial behavior, you are free to grow, create, and prosper with stability and purpose. Most people believe they own their money, but in reality, money often owns them. It dictates their choices, limits their courage, and silently controls their priorities. They wake up thinking about it, spend their day chasing it, and go to sleep worrying about it. This is not ownership, this is servitude. Giving away 10% of your income is a powerful way to reverse that relationship and reclaim your authority. It transforms you from a slave to money into a steward of resources. A slave lives in fear of loss. A steward lives in responsibility and trust. When you see yourself as the owner of money, every expense feels like a threat. Every unexpected cost feels like an attack. But when you see yourself as a steward, money becomes something you manage wisely, distribute purposefully, and release without panic. This shift is subtle, yet it changes the entire emotional experience of earning and spending. Stewardship begins with intention. When you decide in advance that a portion of your income is dedicated to giving, you remove emotional negotiation from the process. You are no longer deciding each time whether you can afford to give. You already know that giving is part of how you handle money. This decision alone creates structure and discipline, two qualities that are essential for long-term financial stability. Many people who struggle financially are not irresponsible, they are reactive. They respond emotionally to money instead of managing it deliberately. Stewardship replaces reaction with responsibility. You begin to track your income, plan your expenses, and think ahead, not because you are afraid, but because you care. Money becomes something you organize, not something that overwhelms you. Giving also restores dignity. When money controls you, you feel small, dependent, and anxious. When you steward money, you feel capable and purposeful. You understand that money is not a measure of your worth but a resource entrusted to you. This perspective removes shame from financial conversations and empowers you to learn, improve, and grow without self-judgment. As stewardship develops, decision-making improves. You stop spending to impress others or to fill emotional gaps. You stop withholding generosity out of insecurity. You start aligning your spending with your values. This alignment creates internal peace because your actions reflect who you want to be, not what fear demands. There is also a powerful psychological effect in knowing that money flows through you, not to you. Flow creates movement, and movement creates vitality. When money flows, it does not stagnate, and stagnation is what creates stress and dissatisfaction. Stewards understand that holding too tightly blocks circulation, while thoughtful distribution keeps resources active and productive. Within weeks of practicing stewardship through giving, many notice increased self-respect. They feel more in control of their finances, even if the numbers have not changed dramatically. Control here does not mean dominance, it means confidence. Confidence that they can earn, manage, and recover. This inner confidence is far more valuable than temporary financial gain. Stewardship also invites accountability. When you see yourself as responsible for how money is used, you naturally seek wisdom. You learn, you ask questions, and you refine your habits. Slavery avoids responsibility out of fear. Stewardship embraces responsibility out of purpose. This difference determines whether growth is possible. Over time, stewardship attracts trust from others. Employers, clients, and partners sense when someone handles resources responsibly. They are more willing to invest, collaborate, and delegate. These opportunities often become pathways to increased income and influence. Money responds positively to those who respect it rather than chase it. By the end of 30 days, the transformation is clear. You no longer feel at the mercy of your finances. You feel engaged, intentional, and grounded. Money becomes a partner in building a meaningful life rather than a constant source of stress. In conclusion, giving away 10% of your income shifts you from being a slave to money into being a steward of it. This shift restores dignity, discipline, clarity, and confidence. When you stop serving money and start managing it with purpose, money responds differently. Stewardship creates stability, and stability is the foundation of lasting abundance. Many people believe that opportunities are created only through hard work, strategy, and timing. While these factors matter, they are not the full picture. Some doors open without explanation, while others remain closed despite effort. This is because not all opportunities are visible or logical. There are doors that exist beyond planning, beyond networking, and beyond effort. Generosity has a unique power to unlock these invisible doors. And giving away 10% of your income positions you where these openings naturally occur. Invisible doors are not mystical fantasies. They are subtle alignments in life. They appear as chance meetings, unexpected calls, sudden ideas, or problems resolving themselves at just the right moment. Most people never experience these consistently because they are energetically misaligned. Fear, greed, and attachment block flow. Generosity clears the path. When you give intentionally, you step into a frequency of contribution rather than consumption. You are no longer focused solely on what you can take from life, but on what you can add to it. Life responds to contributors differently than it responds to consumers. Contributors are trusted with access. Access leads to opportunity. Giving also sharpens perception. When your heart is open, your awareness expands. You notice connections, patterns, and possibilities that others overlook. Fear narrows vision, generosity widens it. This widened perception allows you to see doors that were always there but previously invisible to you. Within days of committing to consistent giving, many people report an increase in synchronicities. Conversations lead to solutions. Ideas emerge at the right time. Obstacles soften. These events are not accidents. They are responses to alignment. When your actions reflect trust and openness, life mirrors that posture back to you. Another reason generosity opens doors is that it builds unseen goodwill. Even when no one knows you gave, the act itself creates positive momentum. Goodwill does not always return through the same channel it left, but it always returns through a channel that fits your growth. A kind act here becomes an opportunity there. A sacrifice today becomes access tomorrow. Giving also removes desperation, and desperation repels opportunity. People sense neediness instantly. Whether in business, relationships, or negotiations, desperation closes doors. Generosity removes that energy. You show up grounded, confident, and unafraid. This presence attracts respect and trust, two qualities that open doors faster than credentials ever could. As generosity becomes a habit, resistance decreases. Tasks feel lighter, delays shorten, conflicts resolve more easily. You begin to experience flow. Flow is the state where effort and outcome align naturally. Giving does not remove work, but it removes unnecessary struggle. Invisible doors often open because giving shifts your inner posture. You become more patient, more receptive, and more intuitive. You listen better. You respond instead of react. This emotional intelligence positions you favorably in moments that matter. Over a 30-day period, you may notice opportunities that would have intimidated you before now feel accessible. You feel worthy of growth. Worthiness is key. Many people block opportunity subconsciously because they do not feel deserving. Giving affirms your value as a contributor to the world, and this self-recognition invites expansion. In conclusion, giving away 10% of your income creates alignment that opens invisible doors. It sharpens perception, builds goodwill, removes desperation, and invites flow. Opportunities do not chase those who cling, they come to those who contribute. When you give, life responds by opening paths you could not have forced open on your own. Money is not just a number, it carries emotional and psychological weight. How money feels in your hands matters as much as how much of it you have. Many people earn enough to live comfortably, yet their money feels heavy. It brings stress, guilt, arguments, and constant pressure. This heaviness does not come from the amount of money itself, but from the way it is held. Giving away 10% of your income purifies the money you keep by changing its emotional charge and restoring balance to your financial life. Money that is held with fear becomes tense. Every expense feels painful. Every purchase brings second guessing. Even moments of enjoyment are shadowed by worry. This tension follows money wherever it goes. When money is hoarded, it accumulates anxiety. That anxiety leaks into decisions, relationships, and self-worth. Giving interrupts this cycle by releasing pressure from the system. When you give intentionally and consistently, money stops feeling like something you must guard at all costs. It becomes something that flows. Flow is essential for health, whether in the body, emotions, or finances. Stagnant energy creates discomfort. Moving energy creates ease. Giving restores movement, and movement restores peace. Purification begins internally. The moment you give, your relationship with money shifts from fear to gratitude. You stop seeing money as proof of survival and start seeing it as a means of participation in life. This gratitude cleanses the emotional residue attached to money. The money you keep no longer feels like it, must compensate for insecurity or prove your worth. It simply supports your needs. Many people notice that after they begin giving, the remaining 90% seems to stretch further. This is not illusion. When stress decreases, waste decreases, fear-driven spending fades, impulsive purchases lose their grip. You become more mindful, not restrictive. Mindfulness is efficient. Efficiency makes money feel abundant even before numbers increase. Purified money also changes how you experience earning. Work feels lighter. You feel more aligned with your income because part of it serves a purpose beyond personal consumption. This sense of meaning reduces burnout. When income has meaning, motivation increases naturally. People often underestimate how much exhaustion comes from earning money that feels empty or burdensome. There is also a moral clarity that emerges. Money that is shared carries integrity. You no longer feel conflicted about having more while others struggle, because your prosperity includes generosity. This removes subconscious guilt, which often sabotages financial growth. Guilt quietly pushes money away. Purity invites it to stay. Another powerful effect of purified money is peace in spending. When you give regularly, you spend the rest with less tension. You no longer feel that every expense threatens your future. This relaxed state leads to better purchasing decisions. You invest more wisely, choose quality over impulse, and feel satisfied with what you have. Purification also impacts relationships. Money arguments often stem from fear and control. When money feels lighter, conversations become calmer. You listen instead of defend. You collaborate instead of compete. Financial harmony improves not because income changed, but because the emotional charge around money softened. Over time, money that is purified attracts stability. It stays longer. It comes back faster. It circulates in supportive ways. This is because you are no longer pushing it away with fear or clinging to it with desperation. Balanced energy invites balanced outcomes. Within 30 days, many people report an unexpected sense of ease. Bills feel manageable. Expenses feel reasonable. There is less mental noise around money. This peace is not passive. It is powerful. Peace creates space for creativity, planning, and growth. It allows you to think long-term rather than react short-term. Giving also purifies intention. You stop asking, "How much can I get?" and start asking, "How can this support a good life?" This shift aligns money with values, and values create direction. Direction prevents chaos. Chaos is expensive. Direction is economical. In conclusion, giving away 10% of your income purifies the money you keep by removing fear, guilt, and tension from it. Purified money feels lighter, stretches further, and supports peace instead of stress. When money flows with meaning and balance, it becomes a source of stability rather than pressure. And from that stability, true abundance grows naturally and sustainably. The true power of giving is not found in the amount released, but in the intention behind it. Two people can give the same 10%, yet experience completely different outcomes. One feels peace, expansion, and alignment, while the other feels frustration and disappointment. The difference is not money, it is the heart. The heart behind the gift determines whether generosity becomes a burden or a blessing, whether it drains energy or multiplies it. Many people give with hidden expectations. They may not say it out loud, but internally they are waiting for something in return. They give hoping for instant rewards, financial breakthroughs, or recognition. When those results do not arrive quickly, disappointment replaces faith. This kind of giving is transactional. It turns generosity into a contract, and contracts carry pressure. Pressure blocks flow. Giving that multiplies is different. It is quiet, sincere, and grounded in trust. It is done because it feels right, not because it is expected to pay off immediately. This type of giving carries a clean intention, and clean intentions carry power. When the heart is free from manipulation and ego, generosity becomes alignment rather than effort. The heart behind the gift begins with gratitude. When you give from gratitude, you are acknowledging that what you have is already a gift. Gratitude dissolves entitlement. Entitlement blocks abundance because it assumes lack is owed compensation. Gratitude assumes sufficiency, and sufficiency attracts more. Another powerful intention is humility. Giving with humility removes the need to be seen or praised. It protects the giver from pride, which often sabotages growth. When giving is humble, it does not inflate the ego. Instead, it expands the soul. Expansion creates capacity, and capacity is what allows abundance to enter and remain. The heart also matters because money amplifies intention. Money does not have character of its own. It magnifies the character of the person using it. When money is given with resentment, it carries tension. When it is given with love, it carries peace. The energy attached to money continues moving long after the money leaves your hands. Many people unknowingly block the return of generosity by giving with inner resistance. They give, but internally complain. They feel forced, pressured, or anxious. This inner conflict weakens the effect of the act. Alignment requires coherence. What you do and how you feel must match. Giving that multiplies comes from willingness, not obligation. Over time, intentional giving reshapes the inner world. You become more aware of your motivations. You learn to give freely without self-sacrifice. This balance is crucial. True generosity does not deplete, it energizes. When giving feels energizing, it signals alignment. The heart behind the gift also affects patience. People who give sincerely do not rush the outcome. They understand that returns come in forms they may not anticipate. Sometimes the return is money. Sometimes it is protection, clarity, or timing. Sometimes it is the absence of loss rather than the presence of gain. A patient heart recognizes value beyond numbers. There is also a deep psychological benefit. Giving with the right intention builds inner integrity. You trust yourself more. You know your actions align with your values. This self-trust strengthens confidence, and confidence influences every area of life. People respond differently to someone who moves with quiet certainty. Within 30 days, those who give with a pure heart often notice subtle but profound changes. Their mood stabilizes, their stress reduces, their sense of purpose deepens. These changes may seem unrelated to finances, but they are not. Emotional stability and purpose are magnets for sustainable success. The heart behind the gift also protects against burnout. When generosity is forced, it drains. When it is sincere, it restores. Many people feel exhausted not because they give too much, but because they give without alignment. Aligned giving replenishes energy instead of consuming it. In conclusion, the heart behind the gift determines whether generosity multiplies or stagnates. Giving with gratitude, humility, trust, and patience transforms money into a carrier of blessing. It removes pressure, dissolves ego, and aligns action with intention. When the heart is clean, giving becomes powerful, and what flows out returns multiplied in forms that support lasting peace and abundance. Consistency is the bridge between intention and transformation. Many people give once or twice and expect life to change overnight. When it doesn't, they conclude that generosity does not work. But lasting change does not come from occasional actions. It comes from sustained practice. Giving away 10% of your income consistently over time does more than influence your finances. It reshapes who you are becoming. Every repeated action trains the mind. When you give regularly, you are sending your subconscious a clear message. Abundance is normal, flow is safe, and I am supported. The subconscious learns through repetition, not logic. One generous act may inspire hope, but consistent generosity builds identity. You stop being someone who gives and start being someone who lives generously. As this identity forms, your behavior changes naturally. You become more patient, less reactive, and more grounded. You stop chasing quick wins and start building long-term stability. This inner maturity is essential for sustainable success. Many people receive money but cannot hold on to it because their inner structure is not ready. Consistent giving strengthens that structure. Over time, generosity also shapes character. You become less attached to outcomes and more focused on values. This detachment creates emotional freedom. You are no longer controlled by short-term fluctuations or external validation. Emotional freedom allows you to take risks, innovate, and grow without fear of failure. Within 30 days, the first visible change is often internal. You feel lighter. Your thoughts around money become calmer. You notice gratitude more easily. These changes may seem subtle, but they signal a deeper transformation. When the inner world shifts, the outer world follows. Consistency also builds trust, both self-trust and trust in life. Each time you give and life continues to support you, your confidence grows. You stop doubting your ability to recover, adapt, and create. This self-trust is invaluable. It influences how you negotiate, how you plan, and how you respond to challenges. Another powerful effect of consistent giving is clarity of purpose. When part of your income serves something beyond personal consumption, your work gains meaning. You are no longer working only to survive or accumulate. You are contributing. Contribution gives direction, and direction reduces confusion. Confusion is costly. Clarity is efficient. As generosity becomes habitual, resistance fades. You no longer struggle with the decision to give. It becomes as natural as saving or spending. This ease reflects alignment. Aligned actions do not drain energy, they restore it. Many people find that they feel more energized, not less, after giving. Consistent giving also transforms relationships. You become more open, less defensive, and more compassionate. These qualities strengthen trust and cooperation. Opportunities often arise through relationships, and relationships thrive on generosity of spirit. Financial generosity often leads to emotional generosity, creating harmony in multiple areas of life. Over time, you may notice that setbacks affect you differently. Challenges still occur, but they do not shake you as deeply. You recover faster. You maintain perspective. This resilience is a sign of growth. Generosity builds inner stability, and inner stability creates resilience. By the end of 30 days, you may not recognize yourself fully. You think differently. You respond differently. You trust differently. These changes are not accidental. They are the result of consistent alignment. Giving has quietly reshaped your identity. In conclusion, consistent giving transforms who you become by building trust, stability, clarity, and resilience. It moves generosity from an action into an identity. When generosity becomes part of who you are, abundance becomes part of your life. The greatest result of giving 10% is not what you receive. It is who you grow into.